one's my worst nightmare.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense. You're originally from Africa?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually going to Ghana on Friday.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I saw that you were talking about on the chat group that you were flying.
Yeah. So I'm
Nice.
going. It's quite interesting because recently, the last 2 days, I'm just getting the doubts are coming, you know? And
Oh.
it's just always like, no, everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine.
Give me a second.
But yeah, I think there's just a lot of things, a lot of what's the word? Events coming up. People are like, oh, you're gonna come to this, and I'm like, oh, I'm not here.
You mean in Ghana or now that
No,
you're traveling?
now that I'm traveling, it seems to always be the way. Now that I'm going away, it's like all these different things are popping up, and it's like,
it is.
Where was this when I was here?
Yeah, it happened the same to me. I went back home to visit my family in Italy last week.
Oh wow!
And I missed 2 birthdays.
Yeah.
And a friend that I haven't seen in some time just suggested something on the same day, Saturday, of the past weekend. And I was like, I'm not in town. And sometimes I'm just in town and nobody
wants to message you. Nobody wants to like give you opportunities. As soon as you're out the door, everybody wants a piece of you. It's just like,
yeah, I feel like if you want to be social and do stuff and people remembering you, just buy a flight ticket, and everyone will start texting you.
It's so random how it works. I feel like it's also a test for yourself because I had to tell myself, well, there's a reason you booked your ticket on that certain day. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why you're flying on that day. There's a reason why you're going on this trip. So don't get distracted by what's coming. Like, just keep your head clear on the vision ahead, you know?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm just like, yes, I'm grateful. I've got a flight. I'm going to Ghana. It's going to be amazing. So,
Yeah, it's easy to get lost in all the opportunities, especially in a city like London where there are loads of people, loads of stuff going on, especially now that the weather is improving and summer is closer.
Exactly, it's so true.
I just swapped these ones because these are not great. And I already started recording, so.
Oh, nice. All right.
We're in the podcast already.
We're live.
Yes.
Exciting. So how was it seeing your family?
It was nice. I enjoyed it. Sorry, I don't know if these are working or not. Like I should just turn on volume. It's a little bit messy this time because usually I arrive earlier and I set everything. Yours are working fine.
I'm supposed to hear you through the headphones.
Yeah.
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yes. You were not hearing me before?
I didn't hear you before.
But that's weird because I'm using the same mic. Can you hear yourself?
I can hear myself, yeah.
Okay, so you are set. Like at least you are set.
Yeah, I am set.
So I can. Yes, I can. Oh. Try this.
This cacao is really good.
Yeah, it is very good. It has a very strong taste, but
that's why I said some coconut sugar. What you could do is you could put a little square of the Himalayan salt in it as well.
No, I like your version. It was just like I'm not an expert, so that's what.
Yeah.
That's what I read on. Right, this is much better. Okay, here we are. Yeah, you see, for example, now it's kind of a messy start. So like we started talking, but then I had to stop and stuff like that. That kind of stuff I will edit. But otherwise, a conversation, like usually, I don't think that any conversation has something wrong or good. You know, it's just a conversation.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
And also the same with starting. Like, do you ever start a conversation? Like when you meet someone, they say like, oh, now we're going to start
Now we're
talking.
gonna start. No,
No, it's just like you're talking and that's it.
It works better when it's natural rather than forced. I feel like those are when the best conversations happen, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. And conversation probably is the most basic form of connection, because you can conversate with any person that you meet on the street. Could be a friend, could be family, but it could just be someone that you met at the bus stop and you're bored and you start sharing some stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
The power of communication and sound. And not only sound, body language as well, because some people can't necessarily hear or speak, but there's something beautiful about communication, communal, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So yeah, the power of words, definitely. I was having this conversation with my mum the other day, and we were just saying how words are so powerful, you know, what we speak and what we say is we're literally talking it into existence. So it's very, very significant. And without the element of air, we wouldn't be able to even speak.
Yes, if we were on the moon.
Yeah, exactly.
We wouldn't be talking.
Exactly. That would be interesting though.
Yes, you just have to start like mimicking and doing gestures.
Or maybe it's just telepathy.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess that it happened before with some people that maybe I'm really connected to, or we kind of think alike, that just by looking at them, sometimes you can understand what they're thinking. Or maybe you knew them for such a long time, or you kind of know how they act and think. And just by looking at them, you maybe know if they're annoyed, if they're happy, or if they're trying to, like just with the eyes, sometimes. It's, actually, eyes are really, really powerful.
Yeah, it's
communication tools. Especially for women. Like women are really good at communicating stuff with eyes. With the eyes. Like men are not that good.
It is true. And I feel like a lot of us run away from eye contact.
Yes.
So when you do get the eye contact, there's just something really powerful. It's like the seat of the soul, really. Technically, when you think about it, when you really look into someone's eyes, it's almost like, I don't know, I personally can feel. And yeah.
So you said the
seat of the soul.
The seat of the soul.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Interesting one.
When you think about it, like if you was to look at somebody's eyes, like just focus, like right now, I feel like I can just see and feel your spirit.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not that good at yes, but I definitely know what you mean. Like with some people, you just lock, and especially like if you're looking into each other's eyes, or like just into each other, like definitely there is like a stronger connection. But yeah, I was thinking, came to mind, I was listening to this video on YouTube that was talking about the human eye. And if you notice, like of course we come from monkeys, but most of the monkeys, if you look at their eyes, they don't have like a white part. It's all dark, and they have a pupil in the middle as well, but everything is dark. While with humans, you have like a white part, and the white part is to contrast the pupils that you have in the middle, to make it very clear that if I'm looking at something, you can easily understand where my gaze is going. So, and that's very important for communication. Like, let's say that we're hunting or like whatever we're doing, and we don't have to make any sounds. But if I just do like this, okay, people cannot see what I'm doing right now. I'm just looking in another corner of the room, but you can clearly see that my attention shifted to something else, and I can be scared or surprised. And again, all those emotions, you can just see them just with eyes. So it is, you can tell a lot with the eyes.
Interesting.
Yes. So you were saying that you're going to Ghana.
Yes, I am going to Ghana.
So I always do this. Like I always start the conversation without introducing my guest, because like because of course I know the person that's in front of me.
Yeah.
But I have to be mindful of the fact that some people are tuning in, and they would like to know who you are. So before going back to the conversation, can you please just share your name and some basic info about you, just like to give some context?
Yeah, sure thing. Hey, everybody. Greetings and love. My name's Nicole Osei. A bit about me. I am here on a journey,
Mm-hmm.
here on a mission, on a certain path to um, spread my gifts through dance, movement, meditation, and different creative outlets for people to explore their self expression, for people to connect, for people to heal, to people to reclaim power over their lives and just support mental health and well being. Um, that's kind of my journey. I've always loved working with people
Mm-hmm.
and helping people. And now I'm breaking free of the system, and
Yay.
I am I am officially in the freelancer world.
Welcome.
And I am creating, and it feels amazing. So that's a bit about me.
It does, yeah. Um, that's what I said as well when you came into the room. And for people that don't know, right now I'm not wearing shoes, and I just said, since it's my podcast, I can do whatever I want, you know.
Yeah.
So when you're a freelancer, when you're doing something that it's your own project, and it is scary because you don't know where it's going, you don't know if it's going to be successful. There are loads of things to figure out, but at the same time, you can give it your own spin, and you can do the things the way that you want to do the things, and just express yourself and create something that is unique.
It's so true. And there's something really magical when you can pull yourself out of something and see the beauty of creating. When you actually realize that you can create and that you can follow your dreams. And I'm not going to lie, it isn't easy.
Not at all.
I mean, I'm really trying to practice focus and discipline, you know? Because I'm like all of us, we're all on healing journeys, and I feel like sometimes you need to take time to rest, but it's like, how long are you resting for? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just think there's something really magical when you come back to your creative spark and your creativity is flowing through you, and these ideas, these different things, and everything starts to fall into place, and it's just like following joy and excitement really brings something beneficial to your life, and also it removes the worries. Because as a freelancer, there's not really any money or anything coming like a 9 to 5 job, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like people look at you and be like, wow, how could you do that? And it's just like, well, actually, it's the best thing I've ever done in my life, because I don't worry about these things, because I trust and I know that everything is being taken care of, because I'm following the path that I'm supposed to be walking on, you know?
That's an interesting take. I have a similar experience. Of course, when you're working on a 9 to 5, it's kind of useful to know that at the end of the month you will get a certain amount of tokens, society tokens.
Love that.
Then you can use, and you know that your food, your rent, everything is covered.
Exactly.
So kind of can see that point of view of that, having that regular money coming in every month. But at the same time, even if I don't have that, and I haven't had that for, I don't know, like a couple of years.
Wow.
You would think that it's more stressful, but it's not, because when you're out there trying to make your thing work, you kind of not have time to stress, because you are putting all of your soul, all of yourself to make that thing happen. And at the same time, you're being yourself by doing that thing that speaks the truth to you. So it kind of like you have less friction. So I feel like you're using less energy.
100%.
Um,
I mean, you have way more flexibility. You're your own boss. You can wake up when you want. You can go to sleep when you want. You can literally do anything that you want. So of course, there's so much space for you to not only create but explore you in such a different way. Like it's truly magical. Like, even I think maybe about 4 months ago. So I've kind of been on this journey in terms of coming out of the system, and it'll be about 2 years in August. And maybe about 4 months ago, I was like, maybe I just need to go and get a part-time job. So I got a part-time job, and I was working with adults with substance misuse. It was 2 days a week. Loved the work I was doing, but for me, it took me away from creating. And even though it was 2 days a week, it felt like full time, because for me, it's like the night before, I have to make sure I get rest, because then I'm going to get up. And then it's just like I have a break, but then I need to prepare myself for the next shift. And it was just like, I lasted 2 months, and I said, you're not trusting. You're not trusting the process here. Like, you need to pull yourself out completely and just flow. So yeah, I do think there's something magical about just having your own time and not having to worry about, I need to do this tomorrow, or this or this or this. Just kind of creating your own schedule. You know?
Yes, I find that when you are working in a 9 to 5, I want to make sure that here we're not saying that one way of working or using your time is better than the other. So like we're 100%. Not saying that being a freelancer, everyone should do it. And that's the thing. But there are some differences for sure. And one of them, for example, is that if you're working from a 9 to 5, it's a very strict schedule that everyone has to follow. So again, from 9 to 5, from Monday to Friday, and then you have Saturday and Sunday off. But me personally, when I start working as a freelancer and designing my own schedules and stuff, I realized that I can work for most of the time, but there are some times that I just need to take a break. And that can happen on a Wednesday, that can happen on a Monday. I just feel like, oh, I've done too much. I need to like stop for a second. So if that happens on a Monday, I'll just rest on a Monday. Or if I need a vacation for like 3 days or 4 days, I'll just take it. And actually that doesn't happen that often. And the fact that I can decide when to do it, just like I'm adapting more to my system than to an outside system.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it takes a lot of courage and perseverance to really do it, to be honest with you.
100%, yes. I do agree. But at the same time, I feel just like a jump into something that so the way the society is structured is that we've been doing something in a way for a long time, so we think that's the only way to do things. So far it's, or like in the last couple 100 years since the Industrial Revolution, it's always been like fitting with other people and going to a factory and having the same time, taking the break at the same time, and taking the holidays at the same time and stuff like that, because that facilitates collaboration. But there are ways to collaborate where you still give freedom to the individual, and I just feel like we're just exploring them. That can still be done. So for example, before the pandemic, nobody ever thought about working from home. It was just not in anyone's way of conceiving work. But then the pandemic happened, so we had to make like a hard turn, and all of a sudden everyone started working from home, and you can still do it and it's still working. It's just that we didn't know that there was another way of doing it, and we were just going through the motions of everyone has to be at the same time at the office, otherwise we cannot get any work done. But that's not actually true. And I feel like nowadays with technology that we have, there is a lot of potential, and it's empowering us. It's empowering the individual to have more freedom. So working from home can happen because we have the internet, we have laptops and stuff, we have software, and we can still communicate even if we're not in the same room.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is true that it takes some courage, but at the same time, I feel like it would become more and more easier to do it because there are some other, like I said, tools that can facilitate that.
Yeah.
And 50 years ago, that was not possible. So actually, in my opinion, in the next, I don't know, 10, 20 years, probably 20 years, most people are going to be working freelance. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I can see that happening, definitely. But yeah, I think for me personally, it's taken me a lot of courage and perseverance.
For me as well, I'm not saying that.
Because I feel like, you know, I just got my first 9-to-5 job. You know what I mean? It was really good pay. It was a really, really good job. So it was really, well, it wasn't difficult to leave, actually. Actually, I tell a lie. It really wasn't difficult to leave when I think about it. But I had a significant experience happen to me. And that experience really woke me up to that inner truth, that inner voice inside of me, which made it way easier for me to leave. You know, if I didn't have that experience, I think I'd probably, maybe I'll still be working that job. I don't know. But yes, I think for me, it's just more the focus and the discipline. Like, yeah. It's very much like,
that's another tricky part.
Yeah.
It's kind of because people that tend to be creative tend to be not very structured, because that's the point of being creative.
Exactly.
Is breaking the boundaries and breaking structures. So it's kind of difficult to balance those two aspects that look like they are opposites. So this is definitely something that everyone that wants to be a freelancer or a creative person or like a successful creative person should learn to balance just chaos and order and structure and not structure. Left part of the brain and right part of the brain.
Exactly.
So what was the job that you were doing, the 9-to-5 that you were doing before again?
So the 9-to-5, I was working with Southwark Council, working with young offenders. So I was working with...
That sounds intense.
Yeah. And a part of my job was working in a PRU. So it's like an alternative provision for kids that get kicked out of mainstream school. And I was working in Peckham as well.
Okay.
So 2 days a week I was at the school, and then 3 days a week I was at the youth offending service.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like young people tend to be very hard to control in general, or like
it wasn't even the young people.
Oh, it was not the young people.
It's not the young people. It's the system, and it's the actual professionals that you work with. The young people are amazing. I enjoyed that part of the job. That was the beautiful part of it. It always is. This is the thing. Before I did this job, I was working with children in care. The children are amazing. It's just the system. It's just the professionals that you work with that make it difficult.
So what did you feel was the difficulty in dealing with?
The main thing was when I was in the school. And this school was basically emotionally abusing the kids.
Okay.
So it was almost like they were mirroring their behavior, which didn't make sense. A lot of these children had mental health difficulties, had autism or like post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of these children were going through a lot of things, a lot of family breakdowns, maybe involved in criminal activities, grooming, all these different things. You would think that the staff would be trained in a different way. And a lot of the staff had been there for like 16 years or whatever. And there were so many safeguarding issues. There was teachers putting their hands on students. There was one teacher was saying, "Come to Peckham, I'll fight you." Like, you're a grown woman. This is a child.
And that's the point of being there. Just like...
Do you know what I mean? And I think there was hierarchy. So with this school, they obviously get a lot of money to have these children. And then you have the head teacher, and then you have the senior staff, and then you have the teachers, and then you have the assistant teachers. And then you have us, technically, because we were just coming in. We weren't a part of the school. We were just coming in to do our work. And what was happening is we were building lovely relationships with the children and developing trust that none of the teachers could really do, because we came at it at a different angle, you know? And it was beautiful. But the sad thing about it is, after you have the sessions with the children, you have to put them back in that environment, and then that work just gets undone. And what was happening is they could see what we were doing and they didn't like it. So it's almost like if we reported a safeguarding issue to our lead of the project, this was like a 2-year pilot project to test if they should have a bunch of professionals in schools, which I think they should.
Okay.
So the professionals that I was working with was CAMS, which is Child Adolescent Mental Health Service. And then it was Family Early Help, so a service that works with families. And then it was speech and language therapists. And then it was me, Youth Offending Service. And then you had like a post-16 transition coach to help them get into training or employment after they were done with school, which I think is great. I think those systems should be in schools. I mean, my opinion about schools, I'm not even going to go down that because there's just no point. So what was happening is we were reporting these issues, and the lead of the project would just write it in his little notebook. Wouldn't say anything because he was scared of the head teacher. Because the head teacher was resistant, because she knew that we were going to come into the school and see what was going on and it wouldn't look good on her. So he was literally scared to go to report these issues, and it was an ongoing cycle until one of the assistant teachers, the teaching assistant, I remember on a Friday she came to me and she was just like, you could just see that she looked very fed up. And she was like, oh, I was just in a PSHE lesson and the teacher said to the students that boys cannot get raped.
Okay.
And there's about 7 boys in the classroom. How do you know these children haven't already been or experienced rape or experienced sexual assault? Like, and then what she said was, when the boys were like, that's not true, we can. She was like, well, if I brought a man home one day and I tied him down and started bouncing on his...
Wow.
In front of kids that are 13 and 14 years old. And I said to myself, that's it. Like, I'm talking to my manager from the Youth Offending Service because something needs to be done. This is just ridiculous. It really broke my heart. I went home. I didn't speak to my manager that day. And I just thought about it the whole weekend. And I just went in on Monday. I was like, I need to say something because this is just a joke. So then that started the process of everything coming out, and then they actually started to take it seriously. But before I could find out the results, I already left. So yeah, just the nature of the job, even with the Youth Offending Service, it's very much just paperwork, and you have to ask them loads of questions, and you just don't necessarily get the chance to really build a relationship with them. And I think that's the most important part of the job.
And probably that's what they're missing, or what they've been missing.
Exactly.
And why they are in that spot.
Like, if they have a professional that they trust, then it's easier for you to support them. You know, because then you really get to know them and they get to know you, and they know that you're helping them, and they can try and navigate their life in a different way. Whereas if you're just constantly like asking them questions or all of these, reminding them about appointments and all these other things, it's not really necessarily.
And if it's just another adult that you're meeting and that is going to fight you and or go against you or argue with you, like what's the point?
Yeah, you know? It's true.
The reason why that kid is there is because it needs someone to support them.
Yeah, and I think what's also really just got me is, okay, this service is here to support them, and there are people doing amazing work, definitely. Like, even when I was there, I did amazing work. I know I did. But when they leave the service, they go back to maybe a broken home, for example, where they're experiencing physical abuse, or there's abuse in the household, or there's substance misuse. And then they live on an estate where they're surrounded by crime, or they're surrounded by all these different things. So it's really hard because it's a part of the culture. So it's really hard to like pull them out of that system when they're constantly just surrounded by it, you know? And a lot of, interesting world.
Yeah, there is a lot to unpack.
Yeah, there's just a lot to unpack in terms of it all. It was an amazing experience. The kids are amazing. Young people are amazing. They're so bright, and they're so conscious as well.
They have something that adults forget.
Yeah.
Or don't have anymore, or don't train anymore.
Exactly.
That probably just being more alive, like, you know, being more open to whatever life throws at you.
100%.
And probably again that same discourse of when you become an adult, you think that becoming an adult means just building more and more barriers around you, and kind of becoming boring. Means always doing the same things, always that to become stable, it means to make your environment stable. So it means to like work at the same place, make sure that you're just staying there, and it's about making a certain amount of money. But that's not the case. The case is just being open to life and being open to experiences and finding that stability in yourself. So not from the environment that surrounds you.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, definitely education is something that we already talked before in this podcast, and it should be changed completely from the ground up, like completely.
It's just one of, when I really think about it, it's just some of the things I know now. They're like the simplest things. Like, we should be taught how to meditate from a very young age.
Yes.
You know, if every 8-year-old knew how to meditate, there would be no violence. You're also gaining that emotional intelligence at such a young age, you know, just little things like that, you know, even quantum physics, for example, just some of the things that allow you to understand who you are very, very, very beneficial for the way your life is going to plan out.
Definitely. I feel like why I said that I think that education needs to be completely changed, and you touched on that as well, is that education is structured in a way to produce individuals that function for society, to make it's made in a way to produce individuals that have to fit in a certain structure to produce pretty much. And it's not for the individual. It's not for the individual to grow healthy and to live a happy life. So it's like you sacrifice the individual for the society.
Programming.
Yes, but it should be the other way around. Like you said, bringing back the attention to the individual, like with meditation, like we're trying to understand what are your emotions, what you feel. What is it, that voice inside that most of the time tells you what is the thing that you should be doing or you should not be doing. And again, it's not about the exterior world. It's not about trying to control what's outside of you. It's about trying to understand and facilitate the expression of what's inside of you.
And I think that's the big message in this. It's about understanding who you are. Because once you understand who you are, the world becomes a completely different place. Obviously, we're always still on a journey of understanding the depths of our being. But, you know, if you're aware of this at a younger age, when you get to adulthood, life is just going to be way more smoother when you have this state of awareness and understanding of self. You know, then you can explore different aspects of self. Like, creativity is very important.
It is. Yeah.
Like, in my past job, there's nothing really creative that was being offered to these children, you know? And I just feel like creativity is such a beautiful way to outlet and express. And we've all got creativity within us. So if that's nurtured from a young age, you know, I always loved to dance when I was young. Dance, acting, music, I did it all, drama, you know. And I just feel like if we were able to really just explore that deep inner passion, that thing that really gives us joy, because it's just like I look at my life now and I look where I was when I was younger, and I was like, of course I was gonna get into something that was movement based, because I was always moving. I just lost touch of that because of the industry, you know. So yeah, the educational system's just
yeah. Most of the children are always moving. They have so much energy.
Exactly.
They want to do stuff. They want to express themselves. But then you get them and you just make them sit in a classroom for hours and then listening to an adult giving you informations.
It doesn't make you excited about learning.
Not at all.
When I was younger, I did not like school at all.
And I think that one of the most precious things that you could experience is just finding a teacher that was actually passionate and able to make you passionate about whatever he was teaching. Because most of the time I was, when I was children, I was passionate about subject, not because I liked them, now that I think about it, but because the teacher was passionate about teaching. So yeah, it's there is a lot of work that needs to be done.
Yes, a lot of work.
And it's funny because we were talking about it just recording before this one. And a friend of mine came to the podcast studio, and he does something similar to you. His name is Kip, and he developed these workshops.
Nice.
And two specifically, one is called Salty Pelican, and what they do is improv classes.
Nice.
And I tried that one, and it means that you just show up at these workshops, and they have like different games where you have to improvise on the fly and come up with stories, come up with characters, come up with scenarios. And I tried it a couple of weeks ago, and it was something completely different than anything that I've done before. Because, for example, let's say that I have to play a character where I am angry. So in that case, I have to consciously express anger, and I see how I behave. It's more in a controlled manner, because usually when you're angry, it's just you lost control. So you're not really experiencing the emotion. Or happiness. So you try all these different emotions, and you become more. You do it in a more conscious way, and it's like you're training a muscle. So, and in that way, you start to learn about yourself, and kind of see these things from a third point of view, let's say. So you're not in the driver's seat and just like being angry and you completely lost control, and maybe you hurt someone that you like in the process, but you're just practicing it. You're playing with anger, It's I don't know if I made.
Yeah, no,
if it makes sense.
I was literally just having a vision of it as you were speaking.
So it is really interesting. So this is Salty Pelican.
Cool.
And the other one is Creative Dance Fitness.
Ooh.
Yes. And if the easiest way for me to describe it is just being an adult and going to one of these classes and kind of learning to be a kid again.
I love that.
So just like trying different games where you have to use your body and interact with other people, but it's pretty much like what you were doing when you were 10 years old and you go to the park and play with your friends.
Yeah.
That pretty much what's happening.
I love that.
Okay, there is also a fitness part where you actually have to do burpees and squats and stuff. So there is that part of it as well. That's very useful. But what I found really interesting is it's the play part and seeing adults just letting go and
playing.
Yeah, and being silly and just not thinking.
Yeah.
So I said that because I feel like there are some people that are seeing the potential in this and finding new ways of teaching. And we were talking about this, and we were talking how in the last, I don't know, 100 years or even more, education is putting more attention into the STEM subjects, so the sciences and technology and math. And it feels like the humanities are not as important anymore, or like they're kind of silly. So me, for example, when I was going to university, people that would go to humanity-related courses or universities, you would think they were like not as important. You kind of like belittle them, But now that I think about it, it's actually really, really important, because that's how you explore what it means to be a human being. That's why they're called humanities. So if you're writing poetry, you're trying to write down your emotions, and emotions are an abstract thing, but if you give them like a form by trying to writing it down in a poetry way, so it's still a little bit loose. Or if you're playing an instrument, or if you're dancing, or there can be many ways, but it's not, society is not putting enough attention on that side of developing a human being. So that's why I really appreciate people like you or people like Kip that are trying to explore something different. So different form of education.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think it's really important. So I tried both of them. I've been to the tribaling, should I call them classes or workshops?
Sessions. Yeah.
Tribaling sessions. Yeah. And it's a session or an activity that I've never done before. So it's kind of difficult to describe it, especially because a lot of different things are happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So please, can you maybe give me the vision or the description?
Definitely. So the vision, TribalingLove, I have just officially registered it as a community interest company. So kind of similar to like a social enterprise in a way. And the whole idea is to bring dance, movement, meditation, and different creative outlets to disadvantaged communities, children and young people, and just people struggling with mental health and well-being, and just people who want to explore dance and creativity as a whole. So I have sessions every fortnight, and these sessions, the one that you went to, the best way to describe it is it's a playground.
It is, yes.
It's one big playground, and it's a judgment-free space where you are given permission to explore yourself, to explore different aspects of you, to make sounds, to be weird, and to also to connect to the group. I feel like that's the most important thing about TribalingLove, and that's the most important thing I try to facilitate is before we even get into the dance, it's important for us to drop into our bodies. So that's done by a moving meditation where we move our bodies and breathe, which then aligns everybody into the space and brings us together, and then gently coming into shaking and releasing, and then just coming down where we just kind of meditate and receive and allow that inner place of peace and stillness to come, and then opening up the space by exploring yourself through movement, using movement and breath to release tension and to release tension. And within the space, there's different creative things that you can do. So there's a paint section where you can go and paint, or there's a section where you can go and journal any epiphanies, or you can paint your face, or you can come and drum on a djembe, or play with ribbons and instruments. So my thing is, I think it's important to have different things for people to explore. I'm really into like sensory needs, and I really think people's sensory needs should be met. So I always make sure there's other bits and pieces that people can explore, because sometimes it's intense to come into spaces like this when you've never done it before. So if you don't actually want to dance and you just want to sit and paint, you're still in the vibration of what's going on in the space. So in a nutshell, that's basically what our fortnight sessions are like. And the ones that I'm planning on taking to different communities would be tailored to their needs. So I think a few months ago, I did a research project with 16 young people, and I was with them for 4 weeks. And each session, it was kind of, my intention was to bring different tools and techniques to support them. So in these techniques, it was like intention setting. So before we even start the class, setting an intention, they all got given a journal, for example, where they write their intentions down, which not everybody does, you know. And I feel like as a teenager, if someone came and said every day just look at yourself or tell yourself you're going to have an amazing day, I probably would have done that, and it probably would have changed my experience. So we did a lot of journaling and self-reflection, a lot of breath work, like just breathing and movement, moving in the body. And then there's more guided steps. But throughout each session, there's a theme. So it might be finding your flow, or it might be exploring different emotions. So dancing with anger, or dancing with sadness, or how does this color make you feel, or how does this song make you feel? You know, it's more of a structured class, shall I say, to teach them different aspects of dance movement meditation and Shakti dance. And it went amazing. Like from seeing them at the start to seeing them at the end, completely like just changed. Some of the things that they were saying, it literally brought tears to my eyes, because they haven't been able to explore or express themselves in that way. And what was interesting is doing it with your classmates is intense. So by the end of it, you break through loads of barriers. There was a girl in the class who she was a bit segregated from the rest of the class, you know?
As it always happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was quite interesting to explore the dynamics of that. By the end of it, she had made friends with some of the students. So it really brought them together, and I could really see a change in her. And her thing was, it allowed me to break free of that doubt of, who cares? Nobody's watching me. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And that is so powerful. When you can come to that revelation at that age, to be like, you know what? Why am I caring what other people think? This is for me. I'm just going to close my eyes and express myself. And I really saw that take place. I really saw that happen. And I really saw a shift and a new profound confidence in her and many of the students that took place in this research project. So I know that this stuff works.
It definitely works, yes.
And yeah, the bigger vision is just to take it to communities that don't have this awareness as an alternative intervention for mental health and well-being, basically an alternative way to explore yourself and to find different tools and techniques to help with mental health and well-being, you know? So that's like the bigger idea and vision that I'm rolling with. And this is why I was saying earlier, focus and discipline is really necessary, because it's bigger than me. And sometimes I get lost in it, and it's just like, now I'm at the point where it's like, no, you're going now, like it's happening. Yes. So yeah, that's kind of what TribalingLove is, and it stems from my past experiences. So I've worked with children in care, I've worked with refugees, I've worked with young offenders, I've worked with children with autism, children with mental health, adults with substance. I've just worked with a range of different types of people, and throughout my experiences there isn't any creativity within there, and I feel like that's what's missing. I really, really feel like that's what's missing, because I just feel like everybody needs a space to express themselves. That's all it is. We all just need a space to express ourselves and to be. Because once you actually allow yourself to do that, you can take that out in the world and you experience a different side of you, you know? So, yeah, that's kind of the vision. And that's where the passion stems from. And it's quite interesting, because before I went to uni, I studied community arts practice. So it was taking the arts to the community. So I was already doing this work. I just didn't realize.
Yes.
Well, I realized, but then I went to university to do the more academic side of things, you know. So I did psychology and integrated health and social care to understand a being a bit more. And then I got myself into this job, and 9 months later, Spirit was like, you got to come back to your community arts. You forgot about that one, didn't you? So it's just like, I've already had the training of it all. And now it's just like piecing itself together. And I'm really thankful for my experiences beforehand, because I wouldn't have the knowledge and I wouldn't be able to hold an inclusive space. And that's what's really important for me, inclusivity and diversity, especially. So I really, really embody that essence within my work and what I'm doing.
That's a beautiful vision.
Thank you.
And I think that we need some activities, workshops, an alternative form of education where people can learn to express themselves and to understand themselves and to be more creative. First of all, because it makes you a more healthy human being, but also just feel like going forward, we're going to need more and more authentic, creative humans, because the direction the society is going with AI is that if it's a structured job, algorithmic job, an AI will be able to do it, much better than any human being and faster. So we're going to need a retraining for people. And what is the thing that human beings can do better than machines or AI? Just being human.
Yeah.
And being creative, and being creative outside of a structure, and being creative with the body expression. And that's something that AI cannot compete with. I mean, it can't compete with right now because we haven't fully expressed our creative potential. So I think it's a beautiful vision, and I think could be very useful.
Yeah.
And I feel like society is going that way. Just what I'm seeing from the people that I know, it's very, very niche so far. So you don't see much of this stuff. But I feel like it's growing, and I feel like this is how movements grow. In the
100%.
beginning, it's very, very, very small. It's very, very niche. Just few people talk about it or do it. But then it picks up momentum, and especially if it answers a need of the society in that moment.
100%.
And I feel, like I said, there will be that need very soon.
Yeah, it's very true, because what's just come into mind is dance changed my life. This is where this has come from, because I experienced something and I was called back to dance, and it opened me. And it just really made me think, we need to move. We don't move enough.
No.
Like we were saying, we're either at a desk or working 9 to 5 or, doing all these other things that we don't give ourselves enough time to actually move the body. And by move, I mean like intuitively move the body and explore different limbs. And, the human body is amazing, and the human body needs to move. And as soon as we move, we allow energy to flow within us. And movement really allows that dense and stagnant energy to be released from the body. It opens it up. It allows you to then feel emotion or feel something, so that you can feel into it and then you can let it go. And then it opens up different channels, it clears things, and then the energy can just flow smoothly. And I just feel like everybody needs to move their body.
Usually people would think that the intelligence is all in the brain. Everything is in your skull, But actually, the intelligence is spread all over the body.
Exactly.
And this is a scientific medical fact. Like you have nerves all over your body, like just your column
vertebrae,
like the main
spine.
Yeah, your spine.
Yeah.
Like you just have, it's covered with nerves and with a extension of the brain. So like you really have an intelligence all over your body, and if you learn to use it, it's better for you. But about dancing, it's interesting that you touched dancing, because I started doing meditation like in a serious manner, and yoga 2 years ago or something like that. And before that, before becoming more mindful, before becoming more flexible and expressing myself more and kind of learning to know myself, I was the kind of person that was super stiff. Like I would not dance, not at all, not a chance. Like if there was music, I would be the kind of person that would just like stand there and look around.
Wow.
Awkwardly, exactly. But now, like as soon as I hear like a beat, a rhythm, like it just comes natural to move, Because when you're not in your head, when you're not blocked by the thoughts, kind of in that prison of your thoughts, it actually, that's the natural thing to do. Just like comes naturally.
It's true.
And I associate also that with me becoming happier. Like what I mean is that as soon as I became happier and I was more free to express myself. At the same time, it was easier for me to dance. And what I actually started to think is that if you want to know if someone is a good leader and you should follow them, it's just if you have to ask them to dance. if they can dance, it means that they got shit figured out. because because usually people think that if someone is super serious, like, they don't let go, it means that they're super strong, they know what they're doing. But that's actually not the truth. Because when you actually understand stuff, when you understand yourself, and you start to understand the world around you and the people around you, just like you relax. The example that I give is that if you are at an exam, you're observing the people, or like the students doing the exam, and just by the way they're acting, the way they're being in that moment, you can tell who's the one that got the exam figured out, or the subject figured out. Like the student that is just like sitting chill, writing and just looking outside the window from time to time, like taking it very easy. It's because they know the subject. While the guy that is super stressed and just writing like really, really frantically, it's because that probably is not as prepared as the other one. Actually, you also have the case where the guy just doesn't care. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's really interesting what you're saying about, that initial feeling or feeling stiff. There's a lot of people that come to my sessions, a lot of them come and they're quite anxious. I don't dance. No, not me. I don't dance, but you're here. And what's really beautiful is allowing people the space to explore their movement, but also it isn't everybody can dance. Everybody can dance.
Yes, everybody can move their body. Of
course,
course,
everybody can move their body. It's just what you perceive a dancer to look like, or because you're looking at other people and they might dance in a particular way that you want to dance. But actually, we can all move our bodies. And I think that's another important thing about TribalingLove is the meditation aspect to it. So using it as a tool for meditation, because I feel like a lot of people might not be able to sit down, cross their legs, Gya Mudra. Not everybody can do that. And I think it's really important for people to understand there's many ways of getting into that meditative space where you don't have those thoughts. And as soon as you're in that meditative space, you're so open and you can express yourself freely because you've got rid of the fear and the doubts and the worries, And I think another part of my mission is to spread that awareness that there's other forms of meditation. Meditation is all of just about focusing, coming into that point of focus and stillness. And you can do that with movement. You can do that with writing. You can do that with drawing. Even us having this conversation is meditative because my mind's not going anywhere else. I'm here. I'm present. It's all about just allowing yourself to be in that present space. So I think it's really important for people to be able to know that there's different ways to explore mindfulness, and that you can find meditation in so many different forms and different aspects. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's all just about kind of that focus, that stillness, and hushing the mind, allowing the mind to just shh, and to give yourself that moment of peace.
Yes, because the mind tends to be very judgmental. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you not doing this? You look stupid, blah, 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 blah. But actually, when it shuts up, like whatever you do, you're just happy because you're expressing yourself.
Exactly.
And is what happened with that kid that you were talking about. The one during the session where she was kind of secluded.
Yeah.
And her mind was telling her just that maybe you're not like the others. Maybe you shouldn't do that because you don't know how to dance. And it was very negative. But then when she started doing it and there were no repercussions, it was just what was happening in her mind. And she saw that live.
Yeah.
She just opened up. So I definitely agree. Some people find that running is a meditative experience. So yeah, definitely meditation can be defined just as shutting your mind and being present in the action that you're doing in that moment.
Exactly.
Could be dancing, could be podcasting, could be running. And especially with kids that have ADHD or are hyperactive, it's kind of hard to tell them, yeah, just sit.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
For 10 minutes.
It's not
and
gonna
do
work.
nothing.
Close
it's kind
your
of
eyes,
yeah.
cross your legs. It's not going to work. It's
not
torture.
a chance.
It's general torture.
Yes, it is.
Whereas if they're able to move or draw or just having something to give them some movement or bring their mind into a different space rather than sitting still, can be so freeing for an individual.
I still think that meditation, like the pure form, is very important because it's kind of like that's the final stage.
Yeah.
It's
and exactly, that's the final stage.
That's like very advanced. Yeah, that's very advanced. Like not everyone can start from the final stage.
Exactly. So it's a journey, just like life's a journey. It's like the more you practice, meditation in maybe different forms or practicing just coming into that meditative mind, you'll slowly find yourself the mind easing. It's like I was having a conversation with someone who was experiencing anxiety and doubt, and I just said to her, when it comes up again, just say no to the mind. Say no, I'm not listening to you, I'm gonna go and do this. And I literally saw her the other day and she's like, I'm just coming to that point where I'm in finding myself, the mind coming, but then I'm able to just tame it and say, no, actually, I'm going to go and do that thing that I'm doubting right now. But yes, it's a journey, practicing. The more you practice, the more there's ease, the more the mind silences a bit more. And then you'll naturally just find yourself in spaces. This is what's so beautiful about tapping into this world. I see it as like a portal personally. It's like once you start dipping your toe in these things, the universe is just going to open you up to to more and to more and to more until you can get to the place where you're sat cross-legged and you got a mudra and you're there and you're just in complete peace, But I think it's important for people to understand that when they start this journey, you don't need to torture yourself. Have fun, explore yourself on the journey of becoming into that state of peace, because it will come. It always will.
Yeah, it's gradually getting to that point of stillness. And when you can get to that point of stillness is the point where you can also express yourself and move however you want, because it's like you need a white canvas to then paint on it. So yeah, that's my experience as well with meditation. Just like the I don't know how to call it. It's about the traditional form.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a technology. I feel like it's a technology. It's just that usually we think as technology as something that has gears or like it's electronics is involved. But technology is anything that facilitates you operating successfully in reality. So like you want to get from point A to point B, if you use a certain technology, it will be easier to get from point A to point B, and you'll be more successful. And I feel that meditation is really a technology, and you can have different forms, like we were saying, dancing, or just sitting and being mindful. And it's just a technology that's been developed in other parts of the world in other centuries, and it's been forgotten. But now it's coming back, and we're just exploring it, and different people are exploring it in different ways and teaching it in different ways. But it's definitely needed, especially the movement part. Again, kids are. I feel like it's so twisted that usually if you leave kids by themselves, they would be like running and shouting, and they have so much energy. They will be all over doing all kinds of things. You can ask them, oh, let's dance, they will dance. Let's play football, they will play football. They're not going to be, oh no, I just do this very specific thing nothing else.
Yeah, it's true.
They're always open to try things. But then you take them and you make them sit for hours, not talking. You cannot even talk. You can't even like be like, again, painting or do whatever. When you're sitting, you cannot do whatever you want. You have to listen to a person.
It's true.
That's kind of it is like torture for certain kids that have more energy. I feel like it was my case during school. Even if I was not, most of the time I was not listening. I was drawing comics or reading stuff or or doing other things. So it's actually also really hard to actually get people to in that state of just listening and being completely not moving. So
it's traumatic.
Yeah, it is. It is.
To be honest with you, I was the same in school. I was a very, very energetic child. Like, just like bouncing from the walls, you know? Like, literally, I remember in one of my maths class, which actually got me kicked out of my maths class, which probably wasn't the best, but I remember I was just so high on energy and I just couldn't sit still, so I was like lying on the floor in like the aisle, and I was pretending to like have like some sort of fit on the floor, like just bouncing, like almost like I was possessed over something.
Yes.
It was fun, but it got me kicked out of my maths class. But I just had this energy inside of me, and I think I got penalized for it and I got in trouble for it, and it just really pushed me and suppressed me. And then I found myself in a place where I didn't express myself enough. Or when you get to adulthood, it's like I try and timber myself because I'm aware that sometimes, or because I was constantly being told to like sit down, be quiet, this, that, get out, all of this stuff. It's like when you get into adulthood, you're aware of those voices. Again, it's so interesting. And then you just see yourself in adulthood just like limiting your full self, your full expression, because you feel like it's too much or this or that. And then when you finally break free from it, it's like, oh wow, I can use this.
Yes. Yeah, I'm noticing it now during our podcast interview, because you just talk to about whatever argument, whatever topic you want to talk about. Like you're just like, okay. So like you're touching really intense topics, you know, like you're just speaking your mind. But I noticed that it happens very often, especially in a workplace, that you cannot speak your mind. You cannot, if you think that everyone is doing something and they're doing it wrong, or like it's not the right way to approach a certain problem, you just have to stick to it. Like, just you have to adapt. You cannot say, oh yeah, actually I think that everyone is doing something wrong and it should be done like this way. I feel like so I feel like society facilitates that you have to fit in a certain
box.
Yeah, in a certain box.
It's the boxes.
Yeah, it is the boxes.
There's so many boxes.
Yeah.
But encouraging everybody who's listening right now to break free from those boxes. Yeah.
I know that
breaking free from the boxes.
Yes. I can remember myself in the box. And I know that it feels safer, you know, because if you have a protection around you, you think that you're safer. You know, I'll just stick to this thing. Or if I get out of this box, maybe people around me will not love me anymore, you know, because I'm not fitting their idea of how I should behave. But then actually when you get out, like that's the best thing that can happen to you, you know. Just, I don't know how to describe it. Just
I know exactly what you mean.
So I would say it's just you're free to express yourself. You're free to say whatever you want. You're free to go wherever you want. You're free to use your energy to work on something that you care about, and you want to see it coming to fruition. And you're not doing it just because you have to get a salary and you have to do something that your parents thought that it was the right thing to do, or your community thought that's how you do things, so you have to keep doing it in that way. And it is important to, of course, earn money and have money to live and pay rent and stuff like that, but it's also important to nurture your individuality. And but
yeah, 100%. I think what the boxes, there's so many different boxes. There's so many different boxes that you have to break free from, and will always continue.
Yes.
continue. Another box, okay. But I feel like these boxes are just layers of comfortability. I feel like we get stuck in what feels comfortable. And what I've realized from, you know, this journey, especially like this freelance world, is you have to follow what makes you feel uncomfortable. Because as soon as you follow what makes you feel uncomfortable, as soon as you do it, you realize how can I say this? You realize when you're in that moment, there is no fear, there's no anxiety, there's no worry, because you realize that, oh, this is something that I'm good at. This is something that I should explore. Thank goodness that I was able to take myself out of that box, that comfortability box, move into something that makes me feel uncomfortable, enjoy it, and now I'm just going to continue to follow what makes me feel uncomfortable. You know?
And then you get to a point where you're comfortable breaking boxes.
Yeah.
And that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you just realize that most of the time it's just your mind telling you that, trying to hold you back, being like, no, you cannot do that. You're not good enough, or that's out of your skill set. Or
100%.
the mind finds like 1,000 ways to just hold
come and just keep you there. It's so interesting. Like when I first started tribaling, when I first started it, I remember I had my first 2 sessions. I was living in a guardianship, so I was living in like an old pub. It wasn't in use or anything, but there was like a big little space that I could just bring people together. And I remember I did the first 2 sessions, and I felt really uncomfortable. I felt really anxious. I really, really did. But I knew that I had to do it. I just had this inner knowing that, no, I need to do this. And as soon as I found myself in that space of leading, and I think that's another thing, I think we're scared of leading and really just like stepping into our power. And that's the main barrier, is realizing your true potential. And I remember doing it, and just, I wasn't shaking. I wasn't anxious. I didn't have any of the feelings I had 2, 3, and on the day. I was just completely connected with my higher self. And I was just a channel, and it was just, everything was fine. But what's so interesting is, I would say only now when I have a session, I don't get completely anxious. But I'm telling you, for over a year, every time before I had a session, this anxiety would come. But this is why sometimes we need to look at anxiety as a push, as an element of motivation. And I've realized overcoming anxiety is taking myself in these uncomfortable situations. But over a year, and now I'm sat here and I can say, when I have a session now, I don't feel anxious, or the doubts aren't there. And it takes time, but it's just really important for us to push ourselves, you know, and really just allow ourselves to open up to that different aspect of you. Because if I didn't push myself in that moment, if I didn't take myself out of my comfort zone, then I wouldn't have been able to explore what I had the ability to do, or these gifts that we are given, but they just lay dormant because we don't want to explore them.
Or just a unique point of view that you have, or a unique form of expression that you have, that if you don't bring it to life, nobody else will, because you're the only one that can do it. Because you're a very specific human being that had a very specific succession of experiences. And that gives you a point of view that nobody else has. Also, that's why I feel like talking to people, I really enjoy it. And I've been enjoying it before having a podcast. Whatever person I spoke to during my life, if you pay attention, you actually listen to what they're saying, everyone has like something interesting to say. Because everyone has a very specific point of view that you will never have, because you didn't have their experiences. Of course, most of them, they will not tell you anything groundbreaking. They will just change your life. But at the same time, you get like a slight different perspective that can be useful also, just to get you out of yourself. Like, oh, people experience stuff in different ways, so my mode of being is not the only one. And also then you realize that everyone can express themselves differently, and you feel more comfortable being yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I couldn't agree more, honestly.
And also makes me happy to have this conversation, because a lot of the time I feel like my thoughts or my realizations are unusual, you know, and you just feel like you're the only one that thinks this things. Like, for example, the breaking of the boxes. I feel like everyone is living in a box, and it's just a question of realizing that and making the box larger and larger and larger. But then when you talk to people, like, they don't see that, they don't feel that, you know. So I'm happy that you mentioned that, and I 100% agree with that. And I feel like more people, or also probably that's what we're trying to do, make more people aware that there is something out there. You know, it's very hard to talk about these abstract things that you cannot see. And
because I think what it is everybody's on their journey. This is the thing. Everybody's on a journey to really figuring out why they're here, who they are. And I think as time progresses and as we experience more chaos on Earth, people are kind of feeling this restriction, you know? I think the pandemic was a massive way of people kind of awakening to some sort of inner truth within themselves and feeling this barrier around them. It's only until you realize what's going on can you break free from it. But this is why it's important to have people like you who are creating these conversations so that people can have a listen and maybe something will resonate with them and maybe they can take something from it. But it's a journey, you know, for pretty much the whole of our lives we're just put in these boxes.
yes.
So it's not going to happen overnight, that's for sure. It's commitment. It's honestly commitment, and it's courage, it's bravery to be able to
100%.
be like, do you know what, I'm going to be that sacred warrior, I'm going to break free from the box. You're going to be different, you know. You might lose some friends, but you'll make new friends. And I feel like from my personal experience, when I broke free from this box, it was tough. It was very tough, actually, because I was experiencing things that I hadn't experienced before that allowed me to break free from the box.
People listening, they're like, what
What
is this box?
So mysterious. You'll figure it out, I promise.
You know the meme with the Brad Pitt of the movie? What's the movie?
No, I don't really know about these memes and stuff.
No, you're not a meme person.
No, I'm very disconnected from this meme world.
You're like, what's in the box? The meme? No?
No clue.
Okay.
I'd love to know what it is.
I will share it with you later. But probably I'll just add something to what you said, is that you said that most people are trying to understand who they are and why they're here in this world. But I feel like not as many people are doing that. So I feel like what keeps you from, again, trying to see the box, to understand that you're kind of confined to a structure, predetermined structure, is that you're focusing on the outside world. So let's say that, oh, I want to become a better person, I want to have more success, I want to be happier. So what I'll do is that I will try to change the environment around me. So I will chase that career, you know, I will try to get this really, really high position in the hierarchy, so I can get a lot of money, so I can buy this really cool car, you know, and I can buy this really huge car and this kind of stuff. But this is all external, so you cannot change who you are inside by changing what's outside. You cannot understand who you are inside or what's your true self by changing objects on the outside. So I feel like people get lost in this fake chase, but the opposite happens when you're really trying to understand who am I. It's not about what's happening outside. It's not about my family, what they think. It's not about my community. It's not about that shiny car. It's not about that man or women that I find attractive. It's, hey, what's happening? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? Why do I feel this way? Why do I think these things? And in the beginning, it's very painful because it's a journey that you have to do just by yourself. You cannot. It's useful to listen to people talking about this stuff and reading books and things like that. People before you that talk about these topics and they've been through the same journey, but at the same time, it's unique. So you have to find out about it. And like you said, you kind of have to be a warrior and you're fighting just yourself, you're not fighting other people, so it's even harder.
But yeah, I think that's the beauty, is when you start to become curious of life. And what's interesting is I feel like as you experience more hardship, or like you were saying, people drawn more to the outside world and the material world, and it comes to a point where you just realize nothing's actually, you just keep hitting this brick wall. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it, because that's when the question comes. You're like, well, what is the point of all of this? You know, why am I here? Why isn't this working? What? And I feel like as you start to become curious and start to ask those questions, that's when things start to shift a bit more, because you're realizing, okay, I'm changing the outside world. I'm changing what's around me, but I'm still feeling this feeling inside. What's going on? And I think curiosity is how the box begins to open.
Yes.
So yeah,
and like I said at the start of the podcast, I feel like society will shift towards that direction. And there will be the need of facilitators and activities that help you to explore your inner self. And what I feel like is that every generation, or like every period in history, they had like a barrier, like a box, and there was some kind of exploration, and that exploration got them out of that box, and then there was an explosion of wealth and health. So for example, like when humans started to explore the seas, the oceans, because before they were confined in the Mediterranean box, kind of. They're like, oh, if you get outside of the Mediterranean, like if you cross the opening between Spain and Morocco, there are just monsters outside. You're just going to die. You cannot leave that. You cannot leave the Mediterranean. But then someone did it, and they discovered the Americas, and that's like a whole new world, And that led to a lot of things. And after that, I feel like probably the most important one was going into space. Again, we're confined on Earth, so we're never going to get out there. But then someone goes on the moon, and that's actually possible. And that led to the exploration of space. But I feel like now, since kind of like the material world, the outside world had been most of it discovered, what the next frontier is the consciousness frontier. And I feel like there will be more and more people and more focus on breaking that frontier, that box.
100%.
And exploring consciousness.
100%. The more chaos, the more curiosity.
Yes. So
exciting.
Yeah. Exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah, but there's no need to fear.
So we touched on a lot of points, and I feel like we probably could be talking about these things forever.
Yeah, it's true.
Because the more you delve into it, the deeper it gets, and the more there is to talk about. But you talked about tribaling and love, and you said that you're doing it fortnightly. And could you give a little bit more details, just for people, that anyone that would be interested, again, like would like to express themselves? And
so TribalingLove, you can find us on Instagram, TribalingLove. Yeah, I'm not that active on social media. I'm trying to get with the times, so bear with me.
Me as well.
But TribalingLove, Instagram, and you can also email me. What is the email? I think it is tribaling1unity@yahoo.com.
Okay. I will leave it in the description anyway. So.
Yeah, or you can contact me via WhatsApp, which is great. So you can just put my number in the description. And yeah, we have dances every 2 weeks. I'm going on a break, so I'm not too sure when the next dance will be. And yeah, there'll be many more dances when I get back, for sure. So just stay tuned. And if you're interested, just reach out. I'm always here.
Okay,
yeah, it's open space.
That's beautiful. It's funny how we met randomly before.
I know.
We keep meeting, like, the first time happened. We were in Finsbury Park.
Yeah.
And there is a djembe
Yeah.
teacher, and they have sessions every Thursday. That was the first time, right?
Yeah, that was the first time.
Yeah. And then a friend of ours just connected us again, and I came to the tribaling.
Yeah.
And that was really cool experience that I will do again in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe when you come back from Ghana. Then another time.
Yeah.
And then finally this time.
I know.
So thanks a lot for coming and for taking the time, and for sharing so much about yourself and touching on some really interesting topics that I feel like we could talk about for a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
And most people should talk about. But yeah, thanks for coming. And is there anything else that you would like to share?
Oh. There is one thing, but it will probably just open up to other doorways and stuff. I just kind of wanted to share my experience of how I actually broke free from the box.
Oh.
Yeah. Part 2.
I feel that's the best cliffhanger.
Part 2.
Yes, stay tuned for part 2.
Love that.
After Ghana.
Yes.
I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I feel like again, when you have when you're willing to be open and just express yourself, there is so much to be said, and for sure one session is not enough. I would love to have you back.
Yeah, I'd love to come back.
Yes. Now I'm curious as well. But thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I will share your details in the description of the podcast. And thanks for being a brave warrior.
And you too. Thank you for shining your light.
Thank you.